Hi there folks, this is Jed McCabe of www.bodybuildingalert.com. Welcome to this short video presentation called The Best Way to Gain Muscle, a Simple 5-Point Plan. If you want to add a lot of muscle to your body and fast, there are 5 components that must be in place in order to make this happen. First is a sensible bodybuilding routine. Second is a good diet. Third, plenty of recovery. Fourth, avoiding injuries. And fifth is consistency. And for absolute best results, you need all 5 components to be in place. Bodybuilding does involve some hard work, not a lot of hard work, but it does involve hard work, and for that reason I'd suggest you don't want that hard work to go to waste because you haven't got all 5 areas covered. So let's now take a look at these 5 areas in a bit more detail. First, your bodybuilding routine. You need more rest days than workout days. You need to be training not more than 3 times a week, and each session should be under an hour in length. The reason for that is because after an hour approximately, your body starts to produce cortisol, which is the fight or flight hormone, and that inhibits muscle building. So you need to keep your sessions under an hour, very important. I'd suggest that you can do even better with only 2 sessions a week. The important proviso is that you train hard. You also need at least 1 day's rest in between sessions, and of course if you're only doing 2 sessions a week you can easily have 2 days rest. You certainly shouldn't be training if you're still having muscle soreness from your previous workout. Now, because the workout sessions need to be short, as I said, an hour or less in length, the correct choice of exercise is absolutely paramount. You need to find an efficient way to work each large muscle group as quickly as possible, and you need to train your entire body in the fewest number of exercises because this is the most efficient way to train. That means you need to concentrate all your efforts on major compound movements. So for example, the squat and the deadlift are the 2 biggest and best muscle builders out there, no question at all. There's over 100 years worth of research that proves this. For upper body, we're looking at the major pressing exercises. We're looking at the dip, the chin up, and the shrug exercise. Now, as regards the squat and the deadlift, as I say, by far these 2 are way in advance of the other movements, and for that reason you need to make it your business to find out which one suits your body structure best. Having decided on that, you need to then train that movement progressively and hard. By progressively, I'm meaning adding weight to the bar on a regular basis. Now, if you're fortunate enough to be able to do both exercises, then even better. As a general rule, you'll probably find that if you're tall with long levers, the deadlift might suit you better than the squat, but if you're shorter and stockier in build, you may find the squat suits you better. This isn't a hard and fast rule, so as I say, you'll need to try both movements and then decide which one works best for you. Now, another very important point is to make it your business to learn perfect exercise technique. I'm going to mention this a bit later on, but there's 2 reasons for that. The first one is it will enhance the muscle building effect, and the second one, just as important, is it protects your body from injury. So now let's take a quick look at diet. As regards diet, the simple truth is that most amateur bodybuilders don't eat anywhere near enough food. That said, if you suddenly start eating huge amounts compared to what you're eating now, your body will just reject the extra food. So you need to add food gradually, and you need to keep an eye on your BMI, which is your body mass index, or the percentage of fat you have. The way I suggest you do this is to work out your maintenance calorie intake and then add to it gradually. Maintenance calorie intake simply means the amount of food you take in where your body weight stays constant. Then you add gradually to that, say, a couple of 100 calories a day to start with, and then keep testing and tracking your weight and your BMI as well to make sure that any weight you put on is hard muscle and not too much fat. Now, the easiest way to add to your food intake without your body rejecting it is to eat smaller meals more often. Most advanced bodybuilders will probably eat 5 meals or maybe even 6 smaller meals a day. So the way you would do this is you'd work out how many calories you were taking in. So remember, to begin with, you'd find out your maintenance level, then say add 200 a day to that, then divide that total by 6 and have 6 small meals that comes back to that total. The other simple truth is that bodybuilders are grazers and not feasters, so they tend to eat smaller meals and more regularly. If you do this, then you'll find it's easier to add extra food to your diet. Now, because you're eating a lot more, you mustn't use this as an excuse to fill up on junk. You need to eat proper natural foods. The popular ones usually are turkey, chicken breast and tuna. They're terrific because they're very high in protein and they're low in fat. Quick word on protein. The general advice is to take 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. A lot of people, they just eat too much protein. You need to eat enough protein, but you also need to eat enough calories. If you just eat a load of protein without eating enough calories, then it won't make any difference because that extra protein will be used for maintenance. So you need enough protein, but also you need enough calories. Very important. Red meat is fine in moderation. 2 or 3 times a week is probably the maximum for that. Eggs are terrific, and milk if you can drink it. Some of us can't, myself included. I found as I got older I got lactose intolerance. The good news is that these days soy milk is a lot cheaper than it used to be, so you can experiment with soy milk if you can't drink ordinary cow's milk. Another very important point is to try and increase your food as you increase the amount you lift. So if you're cycling your workouts, which you should be, and that means that each workout builds on the previous one, so you're always cranking up the intensity levels by adding a bit of weight to the bar each time you train. As you lift heavier, you need to build up your food as you lift, because your body will then be able to use that food as fuel to build more muscle. But of course it's very important that you're training hard enough to stimulate muscle growth in the first place. If you're just not working hard enough, then the extra food will just be stored as fat. Let's move on to recovery. Recovery should in theory be the easy bit, but so many people get this wrong, and this is so important. I find this particularly annoying because you can work as hard as you like in the gym, do everything correct to stimulate muscle growth and so on, eat all the right food, but if you don't recover properly, then you won't be able to build muscle. That means cutting out extracurricular activities like hard partying is an obvious one, playing too many other sports. If you're weight training 3 times a week and say you're playing golf 2 times a week, you're going to find it very hard to gain muscle. Essentially you need to decide what your priorities are. Now, as I alluded to earlier, you should never be training if your muscles are still sore from the previous workout. You should never train on consecutive days, and if you're only doing 2 sessions a week, then you can easily have 2 rest days in between your workout sessions. The other advantage of that is you'll find it easier to maintain your levels of enthusiasm, which becomes an issue when you're lifting very heavy weights and you're right on your limits. And on that note, I should remind you that you must work hard. This is absolutely vital. You need to train hard enough to stimulate muscle growth. Then you eat enough food to give the muscles the fuel they need, and then you rest. Simple. Ideally, you need to aim for at least 8 hours sleep a night, and again, this is where you need to assess your priorities. If that means missing an hour's TV, then just do it. You have to decide that you want this enough. Another important point as regards recovery is how you split your exercises up. By way of an example, imagine if you did the squat on day 1 in your routine and the leg press on day 2. You'll be training the large leg muscles twice a week. Now, what you could think of is possibly to put both movements into the one routine. That would make that routine harder, but it also means you get a whole week of rest to recover before you have to train your legs again. Now, I'm not saying that one approach is better than the other. You need to try each one and see which one suits you best. And I'd just like to stress how important this is. The most important thing, in fact the only thing that matters, is what works for you. So always bear that in mind. It's not what someone tells you in a magazine or what I tell you. You need to become educated and then work out what's going to get best results for you. Let's move on. Number 4, avoid injuries. Easier said than done, I know, but getting injured is the one thing guaranteed to balls up all your progress. There's 2 ways you can guard against this. The first one is to learn perfect exercise technique and then use it on every exercise you do and every rep that you do. And the way I suggest you do that is to get a good exercise technique book. Another alternative, there's a free solution which I'm going to pass you at the end of this video presentation that might help you. Just as important as learning perfect exercise technique is to regularly check your exercise form to make sure that you're still on track. With big compound movements like the squat and the deadlift and the bench press, there are several moving parts, and it's quite easy for little faults to creep into your technique. So having learnt the technique, you then need to just check off in your mind that you're still covering all the bases and you're still keeping your technique as pure as possible. The second aspect of avoiding injury is understanding which exercises are dangerous and avoiding them. Now, unfortunately, the moronic mainstream muscle building press routinely recommend really dangerous exercises as being safe. For example, the upright row is a very unsafe and dangerous movement which is regularly promoted as a safe one. Again, I'm going to refer you to a free resource at the end of this presentation where you can find more information about how to avoid dangerous movements. Let's look at consistency now. I think that lack of consistency is perhaps the biggest problem that amateur bodybuilders suffer from. This is partly again the fault of the moronic mainstream muscle building press, in that they talk about this muscle confusion principle, where you're told to change movements every couple of 3 weeks in order to shock your muscles into growth. This doesn't really stand up under examination, and it's total crap. The reason is that if you're changing exercises every couple of weeks, you're never going to get a chance to do an exercise long enough in order to get the form down properly and then be able to add weight to the movement. You'll find with any exercise that you do, the first week or two, you'll have to get used to the actual movement, the way it's done. As I say, with things like the squat and the deadlift, there's a fair number of moving parts. You need to get confidence in the correct technique, and then when you've got the technique down, you start to add weight to the bar, and the extra weight that you're adding is where you build the muscle. Now, if you're changing movements every couple of weeks, you're not going to have a chance to do those exercises consistently enough to reap the benefits. The theory is that the muscle confusion principle stops you from getting bored. Well, there's an easy way to refute that argument, is to design a sensible routine that produces results. Now, if you're getting results and building muscle and you're bored, I'd suggest that maybe weight training isn't for you and something must be seriously wrong. Because if you're gaining muscle on a regular basis, then what's to get bored about? That's the whole point of it. Another part of consistency is consistently adding weight to the bar, and that needs to be done in small increments over and over and over again. The way to do this is to buy some small discs that maybe only ½ pound in weight. You can get these on the internet now. They're usually magnetic. You can attach them quite easily to each end of the bar. The trouble is that most plates in most gyms don't go below 1 kilo, so that means that you need to add 2 kilos to the bar each time you want to add weight. And when you're training right on your limits, it's hard for your body to adapt to that extra load, so you need to be able to add smaller amounts and then just keep adding them. The other thing is that it sounds like adding a pound of weight to the bar each week is nothing, but if you do that over a year, you've added 50 pounds to your exercise. I guarantee you that if you add 50 pounds a year to your bench press, then in a year's time your body will be totally transformed for what it is now. Anyway, that's enough of me rattling on. Now, if you'd like more information on this, this is only a short video presentation, so it's just a broad outline of the best way to gain muscle, and there's not enough space here to go into the proper amount of detail. So my question to you is, would you like to learn more? If you would, you might be interested in this video presentation called Bodybuilding Basics. It's a free 70-minute video presentation. As I say, it's free, and to download it now, go to www.bodybuildingalert.com. You can see the link there on the screen. Download that report, have a watch of that, and learn the smart way to building hard muscle in less than 3 hours a week. This is Jed McCabe from www.bodybuildingalert.com signing off, and I'd like to wish you good luck. Cheers.